Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Pursuit Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Antoneer. And if you're like us, you'll be grabbing those 3D or bag targets and getting ready for some indoor archery soon. Our guest this week definitely knows a thing or two about how to make some of the highest quality targets on the market. Joining us from Alma, Arkansas is Butch Thomas, the sales manager for Morrell Targets. First, we introduced Butch and discussed how he got started with Morrell. We went into the company's history and the benefits of being a family-owned business. Then we get into how they've adapted to the archery industry and hold themselves to very high standards with their products. Before we get into this week's episode, we want to thank everyone who entered our Sika Stratus Jacket giveaway. We received just over 2,000 entries and are happy to announce that Zach Chandler was the winner and has been contacted through email. And even though you didn't win, you may still be happy to know that throughout the end of the year, all camo, and yes, that includes Sika, is currently 40% off. Again, thanks to everyone who entered. We look forward to the next giveaway. And without further ado, please welcome Butch Thomas with Morrell Targets. All right, everyone, like I just mentioned on the intro, we are here with Mr. Butch Thomas joining us from beautiful Alma, Arkansas. I learned how to say that appropriately before we got on the phone here. So Alma, Arkansas, Morrell Targets. Sir, how we doing today?
Doing wonderful. Can't complain a bit.
Awesome. All right, well, like we talked about on the phone there a little bit before, we kind of run down through some of the questions. Super excited to have you on. Ben and I shoot a lot of arrows and a lot of arrows, and every arrow of mine this year has went into a Morrell target. So first and foremost, thanks for making great targets. I know you had sent some stuff up for us. We do a lot of product testing with all these new bows coming out, crossbows, compound bows, you name it, and they're all going into Morrell targets. So again, thank you for sending those up for our bow review videos as well.
Oh, absolutely.
And then a fun fact for you. Our COO or operations officer, Kevin, he's actually from Pine Bluff. So he wanted me to make sure that we took care of you today and all his guys down in Arkansas.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Pine Bluff. Very
yeah,
familiar with Pine Bluff.
yeah, he says he's from Whitehall, the Whitehall area, just the northwest of Pine Bluff.
I believe that's right.
So he wanted to make sure we took good care of you today. He'll be listening. So Kevin, shout out. I said everything right like you told me. So, well, Butch, go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll dive into Morrell Targets.
Well, I'm Butch Thomas, the sales manager here at Morrell Targets. Went to work for Morrell August 23rd of 1994. So I've been here a long time. I'm 58 now, and so I've seen the archery industry really change a lot over the years, and been around long enough to know what it's really taken to make a good target. I can tell you that.
That's awesome. 1994. What were you doing, Ben, in 94?
I don't remember.
94, I would have been 7. So
Yeah.
not a whole lot of anything. I
I'd have
definitely
been
wasn't
8,
shooting
yeah.
in target. So one thing, the Morrell Targets, obviously we talked before, they've been around since 1986, I believe. Is that correct? Now it's a family-owned business, and I remember seeing in one of your interviews that you had with either Archery Talk or Archery Business or something like that. Is there still 8 family members that are currently in the business at that time? Now that was a few years ago, so I don't know if it's still the same or.
It changed. However many it was, it ain't changed. So that's still, I think it's around there, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, as I said, I read that article. I was just trying to get a little bit of backstory from you and, learn about the company a little bit before we had the conversation. And, family owned from. Go ahead and let's dive into Morrell Targets themselves and talk about the history of it.
I will tell you just real briefly about family owned. That's very important to us. In this industry nowadays, there's just a lot of conglomerates out there, but it's something, I don't know, maybe it's because it is family owned, we take a lot more pride in it, Lord, I feel like I'm a family member here myself because I've been around for so long, but the family aspect is everything. I had one of my dealers years and years ago. I've done business with him many years, and he retired. He got up there in years and just decided to sell out and retire. And the one thing he told me, he said, I'm going to give you some advice, Butch. And I said, what's that, John? And he said, whatever you do, y'all don't change. He said, you know, y'all still treat people, we try to treat people like family. We try to treat them like friends. And, you know, that's the one thing that I learned in this industry, whether it be a consumer, whether it be a dealer, or whoever it might be, a distributor, whatever, when you treat them like family, you just become good friends. So the whole family thing about Morrell's is just so important for us. Even in our hallways, it'll tell you family owned and operated since 1986. We take a lot of pride in it.
As you should. And there's something to be said, like you said, a lot of companies are being bought out by bigger buying groups. You know, there may be one mother company that owns 5 or 6 different other ones, or even more than that in some cases, you know, and to be family owned. I mean, we just released an episode a couple of weeks ago with 10 Point, which I'm sure you're familiar with the guys from 10 Point right here.
You know him very well.
Right here in Ohio, and you know, and talking to Randy Wood and the guys there at 10 Point, you know, obviously another family-owned business and has been family-owned for quite some time, and will continue with some new news about some of his Rick's sons becoming part of the leadership team up there. And, you know, you could tell from them, too, that they took a lot of pride, and I'm sure you guys work with them quite a bit just on the crossbow side and the targets. So there's definitely something to be said about being in this industry and being family-owned, and just, you know, when you're calling someone, you're talking to someone that can help you right there on the spot, you know, and that there's a lot to be said about that in this industry.
Oh, yes, sir.
Now going into that, you said 1986. You guys, you can't be in business this long, like I mentioned to you earlier, without selling a good quality product. You just don't come in and start selling a bag target and catch fires. So if you can, let's dive into some of the quality and the product that you have, and how that company has been able to stick around for the last 35 years at this point.
Yeah, well, one of the things that sets us apart is we're not just a bag that's filled with something. You know, there's a lot of our competitors out there on the market. If you just take a bag and you fill it with some rags or whatever you want to fill it with, they're just not going to last. Dale had the idea many years ago when he started this company to do this patented design, and we have like layers of material. Like several of our targets will have anywhere from 50 to 94 layers of material on the inside of a bag target. We have I guess you'd call it a program, a testing area that we call it the proving grounds. If you could go upstairs and see our mezzanine, you would see, oh my goodness, you would see just a tremendous mountain of competitors' targets, our prototype targets, everything that we do, because you'll see numbers written on them. You'll see that this target took X amount of shots with this arrow at this speed, with this bow at this distance before we got a poke through. And so we know whenever we put a product out on the market, I can assure you that thing has been ran through the ringer. Because, you know, guys, face it today, technology from 1986 to where we're at now in 2022, it is just changed as much as night and day. Arrows has gotten smaller in diameter. Even the field tips, I don't know what the proper words other than they're the needle nose out there on the end. Just everything is penetrating harder and faster. My Lord, the crossbow market is just shot up, and you know they're all beaten down. Even your less expensive bows now are all around that 400 feet a second range, and those are over 500 foot a second now. So if you don't stay on top of your A game, you will get left behind in this industry. And I can assure you, man, we've got we came out with a new target this year that we introduced at the ATA show, and it has just done tremendous for us. It's called a kinetic. It's a field point only, but we are the only company out there that literally has a no feet per second rating on it. I mean, you shoot whatever you want to into it. Whatever bow, whatever crossbow, arrow, it does not matter. We shot at 468 foot a second. We shot 150 shots in the same hole the size of a dime, and the arrow didn't even penetrate halfway through. And I mean, it's smoking.
Yeah, yeah. And like I told you, I got one sitting right here with probably, what do you say, Ben? At least a dozen holes in it from some of our little, probably more
Yeah.
on the other side as well. And one thing that I love, and we can kind of touch into this a little bit too, is when you shoot a kinetic target like that, I'm pulling it out with 3 fingers.
Oh, yeah.
Right out. And we'll dive into that some more. So let's hold on that thought just a little bit, because I did want to talk to you a little bit more in depth about that target build and the process that you guys take to create something that quality. Before we get into that, you 35 years, you've seen a lot of stuff come and go. Like you just said, day and night between 1986, what a compound bow was shooting at that point, or a crossbow was shooting at that point, all the way up to today, where we're over 450, 500 feet per second. Especially in the last 3 years, we've dealt with a lot of supply issues. We've dealt a lot of issues across the country in terms of with the COVID and the pandemic. How have you guys been able to navigate that so far, and kind of where are you guys at with the supply demand issues with that? Is it a little bit easier since you're kind of manufactured here in the United States?
Well, being a USA-based company has definitely helped us. We were very fortunate in the state that we live in. We weren't mandated to have to shut down. And so our company, man, during this COVID deal, year 20 and 21, it was an explosion. Fortunately, the biggest issue I guess we had was foam. The foam that we use for our high rollers is a solid poured foam, where you buy a part A and a part B. That became very, very difficult to get. The demand for the high rollers, we knew we had the best target out there on the market. We knew we had the best foam. But what the COVID did is, because so many of our competitors had to shut down during this time, and with us being basically the only one open for 2 or 3 months there, so many other customers actually track our high roller, and whenever they did, it literally exploded on the market, to the point when the COVID broke out, it seemed like it was in March or April, and I think May's when they started. April or May, somewhere around there, I believe in 20s, when everybody started shutting down. I had enough targets in our high rollers that should have carried us with what we could make in a day or in a week. We had enough high rollers that should have carried us throughout the whole year without being back ordered. By the end of July, we didn't have anything. There wasn't a red high roller, any kind of foam target we had on the floor. It was completely empty. And I knew we was, and now we're still to this day playing catch up on this game, because so many people try them and they go like, holy smokes, this target is as good as what people are saying it is. It's blowed up all over the internet. It's incredible.
Oh yeah, it's one of our favorites for sure. I know that we can't keep them in stock very long at all. I know before I started here, we had I think maybe 2. I think you guys may have changed the design just a little bit. It went from more of a square to on the corners. You know how the corners are a little bit more rounded, like a dice, like a actual dice. And
that's why we did it.
Yep. And I think my brother-in-law actually has the one with the original squared off corners. And at that point, we only had 2 in the store. That's before I started working here. And then I think maybe this summer we had, well, when we got connected with you guys, and we were starting to promote the product a little bit more. Excuse me. We, I think we may have had 6 or so.
We might have had more than that.
Yeah, but they were
spread across each store.
Yeah, spread across each store, and they were gone. Like, as soon as we get them in, if someone finds out that we have them, when they ended up shipping out, they were gone. And as a company, you have some really cool people in the industry, supporting your product in terms of, let's look at Michael Waddell, Cameron Haynes, like Chris B., and others among that list. Grant Woods there in Missouri from Growing Deer TV. I know he does a lot of stuff for you. He actually just promoted a cool little video here not too long ago for the Transformer buck. And, when you get these personalities and they see the quality of the product that they're using, it's ultimately going to go ahead and help the sales for sure. And I mean, obviously that's why you're doing it. But now let's get you to the point now you can't keep up with the demand.
Oh, yeah. You was asking me about our quality and what kind of sets us apart. I want to take just a moment to explain to you what our patent design, what does that mean? A lot of people just says, all that target's patented. Well, you got to understand what that really means. When you shoot an arrow into a bag, if you have nothing but just stuffing material in there to stop it, it don't take long, and you literally wear out that hole, and that's what causes the target knot to hold up as well. Well, we have multiple layers of burlap. I want to say our yellow jacket has somewhere around 54, or the yellow jacket like the Supreme 3, I think has 54, 58 layers of material on the inside, if I'm not mistaken. And what it is, it's just like I can be driving down the road and I can be running 100 miles an hour. But if I have to slam on my brakes, I don't just come to a screeching halt. As I'm applying pressure, I start slowing down until I come to a screeching halt. Well, each layer, as the arrow is passing through those layers, it slowed it down. So as it finally, before it can get out to the back, it's had you got your outer cover, you've got your your waterproof liner, you've got your stuffing material, then you got all of these layers. This thing has to penetrate to get through, and if that ain't good enough to stuff it, then I've got more layers of stuffing, or another section of stuffing material on this side, and the cover to get out before it can get out to the other side. You get into like our outdoor range, some of our commercial uses, it's got 90-something layers of material on the inside. They're crazy the way that they're built. But let me tell you something. Whenever we get done with them, if we say that target will stop 425 foot a second, or this one will stop 450, or this one will stop, I got a new one coming out. I can't wait to tell everybody about. January at the show. Man, I'm going to tell you, when we say it'll do something, you can take it to the bank, it'll do it. And if it don't do it, we'll stand behind it 100%.
That's awesome. I can't wait. Hopefully, Ben and I are planning on getting to the ATA show this year, so I definitely want to stop by the booth and say hi to you, and let's see this new one. I'm excited to see what you got cooking up over there. So I know we had talked too. We had just built a crossbow for a high-profile customer that we have, and Ben and I, we sighted it in for him. Of course, like you said, these crossbows are shooting fast, and I mean real fast, and this bow was shooting 440 feet per second. It was a 10-point Havoc. And, we were on the crunch and the timeline, and I know you guys had sent us over that kinetic, and we get to the range, and you said when they have targets at the range, they have your standard block targets that you'd find at a lot of outdoor free ranges. Ben said, I just watched the guy shoot a crossbow here last week, and he said it buried it to the fletches, remember?
Yeah, they had to use pliers to pull the bolts out of the target.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm glad we had that kinetic, because if we didn't have it, we wouldn't have been able to sight the thing in, or if we did, we would have ruined a bunch of arrows trying to get it done.
Yeah, so here we shoot this thing, and Butch, I tell you, and you know it, but I shot that kinetic at 5 yards. I mean, it's further away from Ben right now in our little room than what I shot it at to get that Garmin dialed up. And that thing, it didn't matter if I was 5 yards or 50 yards, the arrow went exactly the same. Mm-hmm. It was no deeper that close than it was when we were 50 yards
Less
away.
than half of the arrow was in there.
Oh, yeah, and we're talking about a 16, 18-inch bolt. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like a 30-inch arrow.
Did you notice the weight on the target? It's all there, ain't it?
Yeah, it's all there. It's a workout to get it in here. He was actually just making fun of me because I brought it in. I wanted to look at it because I always call it something different. I think in the video that we did, I called it something different too. And so I'm like, I want to make sure I see it. It's literally just right here. And he's like, man, that thing's got some weight on it. I'm like, what is it? It's like 65 pounds, I think I saw on the website. We definitely drove it to the range. We didn't park in the normal archery parking spot. We drove it to the range, dropped it off, and then drove back and parked where we're supposed to.
Yeah.
I love it. But outside of that, one thing I think is really cool, and one thing I want everyone to know too, like I mentioned to you prior to this, is you guys are really big partners with the NASP program. And for those that don't know, NASP stands for National Archery in Schools Program. And the cool thing is that we actually have several districts here in our state, here in Ohio, that participate in this program as well. So it's really beneficial to get young kids in shooting archery. And if you go to MorrellTargets.com, you will see that there are plenty of targets, plenty of paper for these students to shoot. If you don't mind, let's go ahead and dive into some of your giving back to the community of NASP.
NASP has just been incredible for us. Dale, the owner of our company, he has always had And Bernie, who one of my salesmen, who also he's our NASP coordinator, and that's Dale's brother. He just has a heart for the kids. And I'm telling you right now, we are the second largest contributor. We are the largest contributor behind Matthews, I should say. Matthews and then us when it comes to giving the NAS program. The National Archery Schools program, we make an 80-centimeter school target that makes it really nice and easy for the kids. It's on wheels. It's got a tilt-proof bar to keep it safe so it don't fall over on them. We've got the 80-centimeter paper targets. Anything pertaining to those kids, we're there. We're involved in it when it comes to the NAS. We've got tournaments, our targets for their state shoots, and we're at a lot of the events when it comes to any of the major events for NAS. We're usually there and helping out. And Lord, they have put down miles and miles of tape on the floor setting up those ranges.
For sure, and it's really cool to see. And for some kids, it's their only opportunity to have some type of after-school program or school program. Maybe they're not cut out to play football, baseball, or basketball, or volleyball, or whatever have you, and they're more targeted to this. I mean, unfortunately, my particular school where my kids go to doesn't have a program. We're probably one of the only ones in the area that doesn't, and so it's been something that I've been trying to work with. Fun fact: my wife's cousin is actually the state coordinator for Ohio for a NAS program, and so I keep poking them to try to get one.
Oh yeah. Jordan, you did touch base on one thing that we absolutely love about the NAS program is it doesn't matter, honestly, all kids at all levels. You don't have to be no super athlete. We've even seen, and I mean, it'll get you sometimes, but a blind kid with a coach out there with them and them sitting there shooting a bow, kids with arms missing, legs missing, handicaps, in wheelchairs. It doesn't matter, big, little, short, or small. Anybody can get in there and not just shoot a bow, but they can compete. And you'd be surprised what these kids can do with a bow with no sight on it and how they can just stack them arrows in there. It'll blow you away.
Oh yeah, they're probably definitely. I mean, I'm not shooting bows without any sights on them, so they'll probably blow me away for a little bit.
Me too.
And yeah, it's a really cool thing, and I wanted to make sure that we touched on it too because, like I said, man, sports aren't cut out for everybody, and this gives them an opportunity. And we have a pro staff member on our team, Craig Holycross, who is actually the head archery coach at Muskingum University right here down the road from us. And he tells us a lot too that archery is one of the most underutilized scholarships available to people. And so you can go to college and get scholarship money and grant money for shooting a bow. And I mean, and like you said, you don't have to be slam dunking all the time or hitting home runs or anything like that, or the fastest kid or whatever have you. It's just you can participate in this sport and potentially earn yourself a scholarship.
And honestly, it takes a lot of these kids with low self-esteem, and it builds their self-esteem. It gives them confidence, and it just helps them realize, man, I can sit here and I can compete now. And I just love to see how it just literally can change lives.
Yeah.
Benjamin, Jordan, it's something, man, to watch those kids. And I tell you what's really cool is to be standing in there when they turn those kids loose to shoot, and there'll be 300 kids lined up there, and they all let them bows go at one time, and you hear that. I mean, it'll send chills up you, boy. I mean,
I need to get to a shoot. I think they have. I'm not sure if it's NASP or it's another. We have that Arnold Sports Classic up here every year in Columbus for the bodybuilding and powerlifting and stuff. And I think they have an archery. I'm not sure if that's NASP or not. It may be a different program, but
I know we do NASP. We do shots. Oh my goodness, there's programs out there that we're involved in with kids. So there's many of them.
All right, everyone, we need to take a quick break from the conversation to thank our show sponsor, Toby Burdett, with Burdett Taxidermy and Legends Big Game Recovery. As we've mentioned several times on the show, when it comes to whitetail hunting, bad shots just happen. If you're in Ohio or the surrounding states and you find yourself in a situation where you need help tracking, give Toby a call at 740-281-6435. Thanks, everyone. Good luck this season. Let's get back to the conversation. Let's go ahead and let's dive into your targets some more. I know we had kind of loosely touched on it with the multiple layers and things like that, but we can go two ways with this. We can start whichever one you want. Probably, in my preference, let's go ahead and start with the bag targets because that's where you guys got your foundation, and then we'll roll in, pun intended, into the high roller stuff and the foam. But you guys advertise any bow, any speed, easy arrow removal. And I think that third one goes a little bit under the radar for some people, but for us, it's critically important because my kids can go pull these arrows out of these targets. You mentioned it before about the kind of testing, and you might be able to dive in a little bit more, but what kind of testing goes on before you make this target ready for the market?
Well, like I mentioned before, we have it's called our Proving Grounds program. It's our testing center. We'll take a target, and first and foremost, we'll come up with a concept of what we're wanting to do, why we're wanting to do it, why do we need this target. And once we figure that part of it out, then we've got to look at, are we going to build this for crossbows? And if so, what kind of speed ratings are we trying to hit? And then that determines what's going to go in the material, into the target. That's going to determine the thickness of the target. Then we determine the size of the target. Then once we get all of that kind of questions answered, at that point in time, we'll build a prototype. And we may build anywhere from 3 to as high as a dozen different prototypes until we achieve what we are looking for. And what we do is we will take, it may be they shoot them at 10 yards and they may shoot them at 20 yards, but they will shoot the same arrow, the same speed, from the same bow, X amount of times into a target. And I've seen us literally, when we will start testing a prototype, maybe within the first 5 shots, we go like, nope, we're not going to do that. It's getting too much penetration. Something's not right here. So we'll go back to the drawing board and we'll start changing and adjusting. And we'll go back and we'll start shooting again. We'll go like, oh, that's a lot better, but not quite there. We want to tweak it a little bit more. So we go back and then we rebuild it again. And we'll pack it a certain way and just do different things to the target with different layers and try multiple layers. We'll try different materials. We have our materials, we grade the materials that goes in there. It might be grade A, grade B, grade C, D, whatever. And the closer you get to grade A, that material cost goes up. But you know what? That material, we know what material works best for crossbows. And if we're not going to build a crossbow bag target, but we want something that's going to go after strictly that compound market. Well, we know exactly what materials is going to go into that. But when we shoot that target, and we've shot it, and you guys have got to understand, when we take and we shoot a target, literally, we're looking at size of a quarter right there. That's what we want. And when we're testing, if we shoot outside that shot don't count. We don't call that a shot target, what we're counting for when it comes to tests. That's how crucial we are. We want to know beyond the shadow of a doubt, these targets will stop these arrows, and when we put that speed rating on there, we're going to know it will because we have tested it over and over and over again.
The man said it just as clear as himself, right? It doesn't get any more clear than that. I was wondering, are you guys, when you're testing these, the crossbow thing is kind of easy because you can set it up in a jig or you can set it up in like a nice bog pod or something like that to where that's not moving. You're just driving on top of each other all the time. Now, when you're testing the compounds or anything like that, are you just, at this point, are you just shooting crossbows and letting it know that it's doing that? Or are you still transitioning to using the compound or using like a hooter shooter or anything like to that extent?
No, we're actually using a compound bow. And
Okay.
Tucker does most of our testing. The kid's incredible how he shoots. And, he has no problem. And like I say, if it don't hit inside that area, we don't count it and stuff. But he'll shoot with a compound bow, and then we'll also shoot with a crossbow. And we'll have we'll have one bow that might shoot 400 foot a second. Then we might have another bow that's going to shoot 425. And then we go all the way up to 10 Point's new bow that's shooting, I think, 512 foot a second. So we've got a various different types of bows that we shoot to do our testing and stuff like that. But if it don't hit inside that quarter, it don't get counted.
That's awesome. That makes you feel good about shooting that crossbow the other day, because it was like we were watching these, you were telling about those arrows, and I'm just shivering thinking I'm going to have to replace all this guy's arrows. And here we were like, oh, no, we had that kinetic in the trunk. Let's go get it. So now you mentioned it going in a certain distance. Is there like a predetermined distance within the target that you're looking at in terms of penetration, or maybe 3 inches or whatever have you? Is there a certain number that you're trying to achieve?
We don't want that arrow after we've shot X amount of shots, whether it be 125, 150 shots or whatever, we don't want that arrow going past halfway. We want to know that arrow is going to hold up, or that target is going to hold up. And that will vary depending on the speeds and everything that we're doing. But if we're testing a target in the first 10, 15 shots, whatever, and it's already buried up halfway, that target's going back to the drawing board. Because it's got to be, you got to think, you're taking a projectile with a point, and it's impacting that same spot over and over and over and over, and then you're asking it to do it again and again and again and again. You've got to have, that's why it's so crucial with our patented design, and that's what makes our patented design stand out so much different for the rest. And why our target's been voted now 26 years in a row by the consumer as the number one bag target in this industry.
Yep.
26 years in a row. That don't come with just throwing something in a bag and slapping a name on it. We take a lot of pride in that.
As you should. When you consider that's been almost just as long as you guys have been in business, it makes it pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, sir.
And the one thing I found out today that I actually didn't know ahead of time too, you guys have a really nice frequently asked questions area there, like bag maintenance and care on the website. And so I was reviewing that, and a lot of people are going to take a bag. I'm looking at Craig as an example. They have an archery range for the school. We'll go ahead and we'll hang these bags out. Now, we may not leave these bags out all year long to be out in the elements, but we know that this product has that that waterproof seal. They're able to withstand the elements and being outside. But the one thing I found was really interesting is all the stuffing that they said on the website, at least, is with recycled materials and is non-hazardous.
Yes, sir.
So I think, as a consumer and as someone that's hanging that out, you don't want something out there that's going to,
leaching chemicals.
Yeah, leaching chemicals, yeah. Or if you get animals or something that are in there eating this stuff, you don't want anything like that.
Oh, no, not at all.
Well, that's about, like I said, man, those bag targets, they're heavy. The one that kinetic, it's heavy, but she's going to stop it for sure. And again, we're really thankful to have a few of these up here. I think we have the Super Duper. I think it's the YJ400. I think is, now I'm thinking about it. And then we have obviously the Kinetic 1.0, and then we have the Transformer Buck, which we're getting ready to transition to. Like I said, we're going to go into the high roller foam. We have the Transformer Buck. That's our pride and joy. It's at my house right now. I've only shot one arrow in it, and she was pretty stuck. It was pretty stuck. I had a little bit of a hard time getting it out, but I had like those needle nose kind of. I don't even know what he calls them either. Those little needle tip field points. But let's dive into that high roller foam. I know that's kind of your bread and butter at this point. That's kind of the competition separator for sure right now. Let's dive into the thought behind making that, and then kind of the process, if you will, of trying to get that created.
Well, the high roller foam target, probably 5-6 years ago, I was sitting at my desk and happened to have a solid black foam target, that I had sitting over in the corner, and I just happened to look across it from my office, and I seen that, and instantly I thought a dice target. And the reason why I wanted it to be a dice target is, a lot of people will take, all they want to do is shoot the center, and that's it. Well, there's so much more target there. And I knew if we took a dice, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dots. So there's 21 dots altogether. And what that would do is I'm going to force that customer to shoot every square inch of that target to get their money's worth out of the target. That was one thing that we do. Two, I knew it was going to be a cool target because nobody had done a dice target, and I just happened to have a roll of stickers that was 2-inch bullseyes, solid white rolls of them, and I thought, I'm going to make that. And so I just went over there and I just started laying it out to where it looks like a dice. And I looked at it, and as soon as I looked at it, I'm like, high roller. We could call that a high roller, and don't never gamble on anything. Shoot nothing but the high roller. And I started thinking about all these never crap out again, and I just of all these different things that we could have fun with this thing, and that's kind of the way. And I took it in there to Dale, and I kind of had it behind my back. I said, "Hey, I've got an idea for our next target," and he said, "What's that?" And I pulled it out and I showed it to him, and as soon as he seen it, he goes, "We're not coming out with anything until we get the exact foam on that right there." He absolutely loved that idea of the dice target. And, it took us 3 years. But from the time that target was thought of, we kept our mouth tight-lipped and told nobody about the dice target.
That's awesome.
Until we came up with the exact formula for that foam. And when we did, when we got our hands on it, we said, now's the time to release it. And I've never in my life seen anything. I've been here since '94, like I told you, and I've never seen anything explode to the point as to what that target has done. It's been crazy. We're building a new high roller plant. We got our plant in Mississippi. They can't keep up with it. So we built a brand new 50 by 200 foot facility in Dyer, where our other plant is, or in Mulberry. It's Mulberry-Dyer area. And they literally got all the red steel, I believe, up now. They're fixing to start sheeting it. We should have the new pouring machine that we've ordered for that building. And that facility should be up and running sometime in December. And so we're excited about getting that done.
Well, as you should. That target is it's kind of a cult classic thing right now. Like it's the it's a hot target for sure, man. Like I told you, we can't keep them in stock, and when we do, if someone knows, they're gone. They're gone.
I think that a guy did. There was these two guys, and they were drunker than Cooter Brown, and I wouldn't have done it. And I'm not recommending doing this at anywhere. I would say, do not, under no circumstances, ever do anything like this. But it was on YouTube, and it ended up getting taken down. But these guys were so confident in this target, they took one of our high rollers, 13, 13, 13 target. This guy thought, he ain't doing what I think he's doing. He stands up on this target, and his buddy is about 20 yards away, and he says, and they were from Louisiana, and he says, shoot one down in here. And I thought, there ain't no way they're going to do this. Shoots that target with him standing on it. He said, put another one right in here. And he shoots another one, and then he picks his target up, takes the header card, he walks right towards the target, and he says, we gamble on a lot of things, but when it comes to targets, we don't gamble. We shoot nothing but the high roller rail. And I thought, well, I'd like to hit that share button, but there ain't no way I'd ever do that.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. That's awesome.
They throw them in the river and let them float, and they shoot arrows into them. We've seen them do all kinds of crazy stuff on YouTube. They've shot them where they built a fire in front of them, and people would shoot the arrows through flames into the target. I've seen them do all kinds of just crazy things on YouTube and even on the social media side of things with these high rollers. Some things I highly wouldn't recommend. And some things I think, man, that is cool.
Yeah, the one with the flames, I think I saw that. I think that's those guys that are not too far from us, over there in Delaware, Moxie. The Moxie guys. Yep.
It was Moxie.
Yep. Yeah, they're not too far from us. They're probably 45 minutes maybe away, maybe a little bit more than that, like an hour. But yeah, I think I remember seeing that. Yeah, I like it too. We follow Chris B there on Instagram and YouTube and stuff too, and I've seen others do this as well. But they'll take it while they're on say they're on a pronghorn hunt or they're on some type of mule deer hunt, and they'll just take it and throw that thing down a hill and let it roll, and whatever number he lands on, that's how many arrows you got to put in it. And however far away it is, you got to take a guess.
And that target is just great. It's not only for, is it going to stop fast crossbows? Not only is it going to stop the compound bows, but it's great for kids. Even the traditional shooters, they love it for just like you just talked about. They'll take that target because, they're shooting unknown distances. Because they ain't using sights or anything. They'll literally take it and sling it, and then they'll shoot it.
Yep.
It don't matter if you're practicing out of a tree stand. It's great for that. You've always got an angle. You've always got a sight that always lines up that you can shoot. But it's stopping just about everything there is out there. And then when you get into the big high roller, man, that is just a beast. It's a 16 by 16 by 16. And we've tested it at 484 foot a second. And then I know Randy and them shot it at the ATA show this last year at 512 foot a second because Jay with Grim Reaper came over. He was wanting to test a new broadhead, and he asked me, he said, have you got something that'll stop over 500? I said, well, I believe that big high roller will, and by George, it did it too. So I was pretty excited about that. 512 foot a second with a Grim Reaper, a broadhead out of a crossbow. That's pretty exciting right there that it actually stopped it and the arrows came right out.
Yeah, that nitro, she's something else, man. We Randy let us shoot a couple of. We shot the nitro. Did we shoot the? I don't know if we shot the turbo.
Just the nitro.
Just the nitro. They were building that turbo that they just released this year too, which is another 450-ish frame, FPS, and that nitro, man, it's like shooting a gun. I mean, it
is crazy good.
I don't know if I told you. I don't know if it was a Morrell target or not, but they had a target there on the side, and that was what they had for their crossbow. And Randy didn't tell me to shoot that. He's pointing at me. So I shoot the wall, just like a normal, because they have a pro shop in there too. Over there up in 10 Point, they have a normal pro shop for any bow. I just shoot the wall, buried it. That thing was gone. He said, well, we'll find that in 15 years when we go to replace that. That nitro is wicked fast. And so for you to be able to shoot it and then go ahead and just barely have to put any effort in pulling it out, that's clutch. I mean, for sure.
Yeah. When we was at the ATA show, Randy had came over to me and was actually doing the arrow show. It was the day before the ATA show, and he said, Butch, I'm hearing a lot about that Yellow Jacket Kinetic. He said, hey, will it stop 500? And I said, oh, absolutely, Randy. It'll stop 500, no problem. He asked if I happened to have one, extra one, and he did. So they took it over there, and I was busy with our customers. And I happened to think about it later on, I think the next day or something like that. And I told one of our guys, I said, hey, run over and get some video of them shooting that. And he came back, he said, they shot it 5 times, 512 foot a second in the exact same hole. And the arrows pulled out like it was nothing, didn't even go in halfway through. Everybody was just kind of blown away by that. And they're blown away with the high roller foam targets too, about the speeds that these things are taking and the ease of the arrow removal as well.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's the biggest selling point for me by far. Is just being able to pull that arrow out nice and easy. I don't know how many targets, your typical foam compressed, I don't care what you do, you got to kind of give it a good effort to get them out sometimes. In these, I mean, it's
on top of that, if they don't get if the target doesn't stop the arrow, you potentially ruin an arrow, and they're not cheap.
No.
And if you bury it to the fletching, you got to use pliers to get them out, and it's a pain. So,
well, guys, one of the reasons for that right there, this is the reason why the high roller is so successful, is prior to the high roller, for these super fast crossbow, there was one thing and one thing only that stopped them, and that was density. So anything you shot, because the bolts are so short, they're they're shooting so fast, you had to have something that was like a brick to stop them. Well, we all had targets out there, including us, that would stop them. But the problem is you sacrificed on the arrow removal. Man, it would take 2 men and a mule to pull some of those arrows out.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and it didn't know what brand it was until we came out with that high roller. You know, I had one of my dealers, he called me one day, and I've used his quote many a times. He'd ordered, I don't know, 10 or 12 high rollers, and it wasn't probably a couple, 3 weeks later, he orders a bunch more. And I asked him, I said, JJ, I said, what's the deal? I said, I just shipped you some about 2 weeks ago. He said, but they're gone. He said, in all my years of doing business, he said, I've never seen anything like that target. He said, that target has a wow factor. And I said, what do you mean by a wow factor, JJ? He said, I watch my customers come in and they'll shoot these fast crossbows. And he said, and I watch them literally brace themselves to get ready to remove that arrow. And he said, I get tickled because he said they almost fall completely over because that arrow comes out so easy.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen anything like it. And the longevity of them, how long they're lasting, it's just absolutely insane out there.
So one thing I want to translate. I mean, we can get into Transformer Buck too a little bit, but I want to kind of dive into Transformer Buck with another question that I have. So I have a scar right here on the inner side of my thigh, and I think you're probably going to know where it's coming from. Pulling an arrow out and getting knocked. I have a scar right here on the inner side of my thigh.
I can testify to it.
How? Now that was shooting like an ASA style indoor. Friday nights here, probably in December, late November, we'll start shooting locally here at some indoor. Have you guys ever, now with the Transformer Buck, you're obviously having that high roller foam as well. But I noticed on that one, you guys have your typical kill shot radius, so you have your heart lung kind of thing.
Yes, sir.
And in terms of shot placement, but on the other side, you have that plus an ASA kind of universal scoring system on that. Are you guys having any future plans to create any type of like full-size 3D target to compete with some of these other competitors that you have? Or is he's smiling, so I don't know where we're going with this. But I could sure my leg could sure use it.
It's in the talks.
Yeah.
And we are looking at absolutely. There's about 6 different animals that we would like to come out with. You know, as with anything, when you come out with them, you got to build molds. Molds are very expensive. You can't do it with just one mold. When you do it, you got to have multiple molds for multiple different animals. So, but it is something that we are definitely looking at. But you know, that Transformer Buck, it's in a class all by itself. That target was one of them deals that it was very well thought out. It was something we didn't want to just come out with just another 3D target, just say, well, ours is prettier than yours, or ours is better looking than yours. We got better details or whatever. We wanted it to be something that would be really beneficial. And thus, the reason we came out with the name Transformer Buck, I don't know if you noticed, but there's a rope handle in that target. The head, when you walk, I can, let's say I'm headed on a hunt and I'm headed to Colorado and I'm going to go on a whitetail hunt, or I'm headed out to Kansas on a whitetail hunt. Well, I can sit there and I can practice in my yard with that target. And but when I get ready to go on a hunt, that head drops in there just like dropping a post into a post hole. And it'll spin 360 degrees around. So if I want to shoot that deer looking over its shoulder away from me, I can do that. If I want to have it looking straight out, I can do that. I can position that head anywhere I want. But the beauty of that, let's say I'm headed on that hunt and I need my target. I can grab that target, I can slide the head off, and I can grab that by the rope or whatever, and it slides off that rail on the front in about 5 seconds. Now I've got a freestanding portable target that I can throw in the back of my truck that I can practice with and have realistic vitals with at my camp. And then when I'm done, in about 5 seconds, when I get back home, it transforms right back into my 3D target in my backyard, all with that midsection being the high roller foam, stopping compounds and crossbows.
Yeah, and I like the fact that it makes it easy to transport too, even if you're not doing that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, being able to put it in the back of my car or whatever.
Handle, absolutely.
Yeah, and that whole and how you're referring to it is it's dovetailed essentially through there, and so it slides right in that vital situation. So you're not fumbling with this like block that you're trying to get positioned right. It's in right in, and you're good to go. And like you said, got those red eyes staring at you, waiting for you to do something with it. So
those red eyes is going to be something you'll see on any other. That's just something that identifies The high roller obviously is red. The big high roller is red. The back-to-back that we do, where you have a deer on one side and a turkey on the other, it's really hunting related, but this high roller foam, well, it's red. The vital signs that we do, that I think it has a bear and a turkey, one side with deer vitals, one side with universal score rings, and two sides with dots. Any of our red targets, that identifies quickly as high roller foam. But a brown deer, we couldn't paint that deer red. We'll make the eyes red, and any other 3D animal that we come out with, that'll be the identifying marks. And of course, it's stamped in there high roller foam, as well as transformer bucks. But absolutely.
Yeah, no, I like it a lot. It's definitely helped. Like I said, I've been shooting it in the front yard, and I like it for sure. So that's about all I had for him, Ben. You got anything to add over there, buddy?
No, I thought it was a great episode.
Yeah, we really enjoy shooting your targets a lot. So you can send them. You keep sending them, and we'll keep shooting them. In fact, we actually have a kinetic now at the archery shop. When people get their bows set up, they had to replace the old bag target that they had there, and now they got a kinetic hanging on the wall, and it's stopping everything that we can throw at it. We want to torture test this thing here before too long, but now you're just talking me against it because he's already torture tested it enough. I could shoot the same quarter size hole 100 times and still be all right.
Well, Benjamin and Jordan, we're so thankful for you guys. I've been doing business with Brandon there at Vance's for a long time. And Vance Outdoors, you guys are just a great account of ours. We can't thank you enough for the business that y'all do with us. And I always look forward to seeing Brandon. And I haven't been able to make it to an NBS show in quite some time because I'm tired of, we've got shows stacked on top of shows, but it looks like this year for 2023 I'm going to get to make it back to Fort Worth for 3 or 4 days for that show. So I'm really anxious to get back down there to see everybody.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for your time, Butch. And, if we can get to ATA this year, we're definitely going to make a stop at Morrell Targets, and we're definitely going to hang out with you for a little bit and see what you got cooking up for this next year. I'm excited to see it.
Oh, and I can't wait to show y'all. Y'all going to come by and see what's cooking for new for 2023. It's going to be incredible.
Awesome.
We're very, very excited. I'll tell you what, that's one thing we do. To get Dell to come out with another target when we're sitting here with probably 50 different SKUs, it better be something special or we're not going to get the go-ahead nod.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
It's going to be great.
Thank you, Butch. We really appreciate your time this afternoon.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Benjamin.
All right, everyone, that is all we have for you today. We hope you enjoyed that conversation with Butch. We really appreciate the support we receive from Morrell Targets, and we're happy to have Butch on to give a little bit more insight into their company. As always, we appreciate you listening, and until next time, enjoy the pursuit.